Mizuki Ashia's hair fell in uneven clumps onto the floor as she cut it herself, her movements careful but resolute. Across from her, Julia Maxwell watched with visible unease, her concern growing with every snip of the scissors. Mizuki remained focused, unfazed by the repeated worries directed at her. She had already finalized the transfer paperwork, chosen her new school, and secured her place. Convincing her parents to let her leave the country had been the most difficult obstacle, and now that it was done, there was no room for hesitation. The decision to move across the ocean had not been made lightly. All of it was driven by a single person. Whether that made the boy fortunate or burdened was impossible to tell. By the time Mizuki arrived in Japan, reality wasted no time catching up with her. She found herself sprinting through crowded streets, narrowly avoiding collisions as she rushed forward. Apologies spilled from her instinctively as she wove past strangers. Upon reaching Osaka Private High, she dashed through the gate and into the building, her mind fixed on locating Class 1C. Her hurried steps echoed down the hallway until she collided with someone head-on. The impact sent her stumbling, and the boy she had bumped into instinctively helped her regain her balance. His casual remark about her appearance struck her with immediate panic. The risk of being discovered was ever present, and she could not afford attention. In her haste to escape, she abandoned her bag behind, offering only the excuse of being late before disappearing down the hall. She burst into the classroom moments later, visibly flustered. Her arrival drew attention, but the teacher quickly moved things along. Her introduction followed without incident, and she was presented to the class as Ashia Kun, a transfer student from America. The reaction was immediate and enthusiastic. Her relief was short-lived. The same boy from the hallway appeared at the classroom door and wordlessly returned her forgotten bag by placing it on her head. The realization hit her instantly. Izumi Sano stood right in front of her. The very person she had crossed an ocean for was now in the same room, casually re-entering her life. During the break, Mizuki observed her surroundings carefully. She had prepared herself mentally for attending an all-boys school, but experiencing it firsthand was overwhelming. The energy, the noise, the constant movement, it was far more intense than she had imagined. Still, she felt fortunate. Being in the same class as Sano felt like a small miracle. When she approached him, her sudden and poorly timed declaration drew immediate attention. The reaction from the class was swift, filled with teasing and laughter. The misunderstanding settled in almost instantly. To everyone else, she was simply another boy confessing to another boy. Sano's rejection was firm and uncomfortable, and any attempt she made to clarify was cut short when he walked away, leaving the tension behind him. Despite the embarrassment, Mizuki refused to be discouraged. She had not come this far to turn back. While most of the class viewed her behavior as strange, Shuichi Nakatsu found it amusing. He took interest in her boldness, noting that he had never seen anyone confess so quickly after transferring. Mizuki downplayed the incident, insisting she was only trying to make friends, though her concern about Sano's reaction lingered. Nakatsu brushed off her worries easily. He introduced himself with confidence, boasting about his speed and reputation as a forward on the soccer team despite being a first year. After classes ended, Nakatsu took it upon himself to guide Mizuki to the dorms, explaining that they were both assigned to Dorm 2. The school's 3-dorm system made sense given the number of students enrolled on athletic and academic scholarships. Nakatsu proudly counted himself among them, having entered through soccer. His curiosity about her life abroad quickly surfaced, leading to assumptions that left Mizuki visibly uncomfortable. Before the conversation could spiral further, Dr. Hokuto Umeda appeared suddenly, physically correcting Nakatsu and reprimanding his misunderstanding. Known among the students as a sadistic presence, the doctor greeted Mizuki with mild interest, clearly scrutinizing her more closely than others had. He mentioned having heard about the transfer student before casually leaving, suggesting a visit to the infirmary if needed. At the dorms, Mizuki's excitement returned briefly when she spotted Sano's name on a mailbox. That excitement quickly turned to shock when she realized they were sharing a room. Nakatsu commented on Sano's displeasure at losing his private space, explaining that he had been sulking over the inconvenience. He reassured Mizuki that sharing a room would become normal soon enough. Taiki Kaishima, Nakatsu's roommate, appeared suddenly and startled Nakatsu. Taiki already knew Mizuki's name, which struck her as odd. As they continued walking, Mizuki was suddenly tackled by a dog named Yujiro. The owner apologized profusely, but Nakatsu found the behavior strange, noting that Yujiro was usually only friendly toward girls. Panic flared within Mizuki, but Nakatsu quickly dismissed the possibility, joking that while her face could pass as feminine, her flat chest made the idea laughable. Though relieved, Mizuki bristled at the comment. Inside the room, Sano avoided conversation entirely. Mizuki attempted to clear the misunderstanding from earlier, explaining her admiration for his past as a high jumper. This finally caught his attention, though his response was guarded. He revealed that he had quit high jump entirely. The revelation stunned her, and her reaction only irritated him further. He left the room abruptly, unwilling to engage. Later that evening, after settling in, Mizuki encountered Minami Nanba, the second-year resident advisor. He introduced himself and explained the dorm rules, commenting on her appearance in a way that made her uncomfortable. Before the interaction could end, Seni Nakao burst into the scene, accusing Mizuki of stealing his role as the school idol before fleeing dramatically. Mizuki soon learned that rumors had already spread, elevating her to instant popularity. Some students had even begun selling candid photos of her. Nanba intervened, scolding the offender for violating privacy, but Mizuki's unease only deepened. The reality of her situation began to sink in. Nakatsu later found her to invite her to dinner, issuing a crude warning about Nanba along the way. Overwhelmed, Mizuki stepped outside for air and spotted Sano resting nearby. Observing him up close, she noticed how peaceful he looked asleep. Yujiro reappeared, eager to play, and Mizuki used the distraction to sit beside Sano. When he nearly fell, she caught him instinctively, her face flushing as he leaned against her shoulder. The moment ended abruptly when Yujiro piled on and Sano woke in confusion. Mizuki managed to deflect suspicion with a quick excuse, earning a small laugh from him. During physical education the next day, Mizuki's athletic ability stunned everyone. Her trial run shattered the school record for the 100-meter dash, drawing attention from every sports team. Nakatsu grew competitive, while captains from soccer, track, rugby, baseball, and basketball all attempted to recruit her at once. She fled, only impressing them further with her speed. She escaped through a window and found Sano asleep yet again, hidden in the bushes. Getting too close, she nearly crossed a line before the noise of the captains snapped her back to reality. When Sano woke and redirected the search away from her, she fled once more, unable to face him. Later, Nakatsu challenged her to a casual soccer match. The encounter ended badly when she was knocked unconscious. As Sano carried her to the infirmary, he noticed something off about her build and weight. When she awoke, Nakatsu was escorted out, and Dr. Umeda approached her calmly. His earlier suspicions had been confirmed. He revealed that he knew the truth. Mizuki Ashiya was not a boy at all. The narrative shifts back to Mizuki's middle school years, specifically a visit to her grandmother. On the television, an announcer introduced a first-year student favored to win the high jump, Izumi Sano. Though Mizuki initially expected to be unimpressed, she found herself flushing as she witnessed a unique beauty in his technique. In the present, Mizuki felt trapped after being discovered by the school doctor. Her anxiety was momentarily relieved when Sano returned to the room with her bag, inadvertently saving her from further interrogation. Despite the tension, the doctor expressed interest in their next meeting. As Mizuki headed back to the dorms, she wondered who had carried her to the infirmary. The thought of Sano being her rescuer made her blush, though she quickly tried to dismiss any romantic implications. Upon returning to their room, she found Sano already asleep. As she contemplated how to handle the doctor's scrutiny, Sano lay awake, reflecting on the moment he had picked her up. He harbored no doubts about her secret and wondered if he truly was the only one who had noticed, struggling to make sense of the situation. The following morning, Mizuki and Nakatsu encountered a crowd gathered around the school bulletin board. Mizuki recoiled in shock at a headline titled, "The New Transfer Student's a Dangerous Pretty Boy." Sano promptly tore the photo down and discarded it. He sternly warned Wataru that there would be consequences if he attempted such a stunt again. Observing Wataru seething with resentment, Mizuki took matters into her own hands and struck him in the face, demanding he cease his behavior. Dr. Umeda, who had been watching the scene with clinical interest, grabbed Mizuki by the wrist. He assured her he meant no harm, explaining that he was merely checking for swelling. Mizuki pulled away, citing her background in self-defense, which only seemed to intrigue the doctor further. He reminded her that he was still awaiting her decision regarding her stay at the school. After classes, Mizuki attempted to walk with Sano, but he departed so quickly that she felt certain he was avoiding her. She walked back with Nakatsu instead, who noted her somber mood and assumed it was due to the morning's tabloid scandal. As he looked at her, Mizuki seemed to sparkle in his eyes, leaving him confused as to why his heart was pounding. Their walk was interrupted when Mizuki spotted Sano talking to a girl, prompting her to pull Nakatsu away to avoid being seen. Mizuki later used the dog, Yujiro, as a pretext to spy on Sano's conversation. The girl, Rika, was a figure from Sano's past who was pleading with him to return to high jumping. She believed his passion remained, despite a past accident. Sano denied her claims, insisting his leg was fully healed and that quitting was his own choice. However, Rika remained convinced that he had only been injured because he was protecting her. The stakeout ended abruptly when Yujiro barked and dragged a mortified Mizuki into the open. She feigned an excuse about the dog's erratic behavior and made a quick exit. Though she initially worried that Sano and Rika were a couple, she felt a deeper sadness over how little she knew about Sano's past or his accident. When Sano caught up to her on the way to dinner, she tentatively asked about the girl. Sano clarified that Rika was simply the manager of his middle school track team. Mizuki was also surprised to see the bond between Sano and Yujiro. Sano explained that he had rescued the dog from being taken to a shelter after the original owner's new husband refused to keep him. This explained Yujiro's general distrust of men, making his affection for Sano all the more significant. When Mizuki confronted Sano about his avoidant behavior, he struggled to explain that he simply didn't know how to interact with a girl. Before the conversation could deepen, Sano had to lunge forward to pull Mizuki out of the path of a vehicle. Pinned against a wall in his arms, Mizuki felt a surge of determination. She didn't want to be apart from him. Mizuki finally revisited Dr. Umeda to give him her answer. Outside the office, she met Rika again, who shared that she had been discussing Mizuki with Sano. Rika laughed off the idea of being Sano's girlfriend, though she admitted she wouldn't have minded dating him in middle school. She then asked Mizuki for a favor, to convince Sano to meet her one last time. During dinner, Mizuki relayed the message that Rika would be waiting by the park. Sano reacted with annoyance, frustrated by the constant concern of those around him. Seeing her distress, Nakatsu stepped in to comfort her, telling her not to mind Sano's temperament. In a casual moment, Mizuki took a sip of Nakatsu's peach juice and left, leaving him stunned by the realization of an indirect kiss, a moment quickly ruined when another friend snatched the drink away. The next day, Mizuki found Sano watching the high jumpers while he walked Yujiro. She felt a sense of relief, especially after he confirmed he had spoken with Rika and cleared the air. That night, as she showered, Mizuki reflected on her conversation with the doctor. She had confessed that she came to the school because a high jumper had inspired her to take up track herself. She dreamed of jumping with him one day and told Umeda that she refused to drop out, regardless of his threats. The doctor, appearing bored, told her he would have expelled her immediately if she had tried to use seduction to stay, but ultimately told her to do as she pleased. Mizuki had hugged him in gratitude, an act that the doctor, who was openly gay, found more annoying than endearing. He noted that her disguise would never fool a medical professional. The peace was interrupted when Sano accidentally walked in as she was finishing her shower. He asked her to hand him his watch, which he had left behind. As he left, he wondered why she hadn't closed the curtain, while Mizuki remained frozen, hoping that since he had only seen her back, her secret remained safe. That night, Nakatsu lay awake in bed, unable to sleep. Thinking back to when Sano mentioned that Mizuki was in the shower, he wondered why the sound of a guy showering bothered him so much. He tried to stop his mind from imagining Mizuki's physique, swearing to himself that he liked women. The next morning, Sano, Mizuki, and Nakatsu arrived late to class. They looked as though they had barely slept, earning them the nickname the Three Baggy-Eyed Brothers. Since they couldn't even stay awake during lectures, the teacher ordered them to report to his office after class. When they arrived, one of Nakatsu's friends wasn't surprised to see him there, though Nakatsu seemed genuinely worried. Mizuki leaned in close to ask if something was bothering him, but as Nakatsu looked down at her face, he felt suddenly embarrassed and ran out of the room. Later, while everyone else went to get lunch, Mizuki told the group she was going to buy some bread. In reality, she was suffering from the first day of her period. She had never regretted being a girl as much as she did that day. Leaving the nurse's office, she reflected on how Dr. Umeda discovering her secret had actually been helpful, though it still left her feeling conflicted. She then bumped into Rika, who demanded she stay away from Sano, accusing Mizuki of following him around. Before Mizuki could explain, Rika snapped that Mizuki didn't know anything about the situation. She insisted that the Sano, who had quit the high jump, the one who couldn't win, wasn't the real him. Mizuki countered that Rika was the clueless one. She explained that just because Sano wasn't jumping didn't mean he was worthless. She didn't care about his titles, she simply loved seeing the way he jumped. Enraged by her words, Rika was about to hit Mizuki when Sano intervened. Rika claimed she was doing everything for his sake, but Sano asked when he had ever requested her help. He explained that the reason he couldn't jump was that he choked under pressure, a fact Rika knew well. He told her never to return and stormed off with Mizuki. Mizuki pulled away and scolded Sano for speaking to Rika so harshly, but he admitted he no longer cared. On her way back to her room, Mizuki collected a package. Noe and Sekim saw her with the box and, reminding her they were buddies, tried to claim a share of the contents. Shortly after, she found Nakatsu pacing in front of her door. Turning his back to her, he offered to share some sweets his mother had brought. Seeing Mizuki's eyes light up, Nakatsu privately thought she looked adorable. Inside her room, she opened the box, which was filled with snacks that Sekim and No happily helped themselves to. Fortunately, there was nothing incriminating among the food. However, while looking through the rest of the box, a photo of a girl named Julia fell out. Nakatsu assumed she was Mizuki's girlfriend but was relieved to learn they were just best friends. There was also a tightly wrapped item with a letter attached. Reading the letter gave Mizuki a bad feeling, but before she could stop the boys, they tore the package open to reveal a dress. She quickly played it off as a silly joke from her brother. Sano walked in, dropped his bag on the table, and ignored Mizuki completely before leaving to take Yujiro for a walk. After a phone call with Julia cheered her up, Mizuki resolved to fix things with Sano. However, when he returned, he barely replied to her attempts at conversation before ignoring her again. Despite this, she persisted, trying to talk to him at every opportunity. 5 days passed since their fight, and Mizuki was losing hope as nothing she tried seemed to work. Back in their room, she attempted to strike up a conversation again, only to receive dry answers. When she remarked that the situation reminded her of newlyweds fighting, Sano snapped. He pinned her against the wall and demanded to know if she understood why he had spoken to Rika that way, accusing her of never thinking things through before storming out. Meanwhile, Nakatsu had been feeling jealous after seeing Sano walk past him. Sensing something was wrong, he rushed into the room to find Mizuki breaking down in tears. Nakatsu wanted to hold her, but knowing he couldn't, he simply patted her head and encouraged her to let it all out. At the same time, Sano, feeling frustrated that he seemed to be the only one affected by the situation, returned to the room. However, seeing Nakatsu's shoes at the door, he immediately turned back. The next day, Mizuki's eyes were so swollen from crying that she couldn't get out of bed early. Namba approached her, noted her red eyes, and offered to listen to her troubles. Elsewhere, on the rooftop, Nakatsu confronted Sano, asking how he felt about Mizuki. Nakatsu declared that if it meant Mizuki wouldn't cry again, he wouldn't even mind becoming gay. Sano told him to stop interfering in things he didn't understand. Catching a glimpse of Mizuki and Namba together, Sano bolted off, intending to save her from the notorious womanizer. When Sano arrived downstairs, they were gone. He found Wataru, who knew their location but only wanted to trade the information for scoop photos. Under the pressure of Sano's threats, Wataru confessed they had gone to the student council room. Sano rushed there, briefly wondering why he was so bothered. He found Mizuki and Namba having coffee. As Namba stepped out, he warned Sano to stop bullying their idol. Alone with Mizuki, Sano finally explained why he had quit jumping. The district qualifiers had been a special meet where doing well meant a recommendation to a famous track and field school. In middle school, he thought it was his last chance, but one night he had to save Rika from being hit by a car. He believed that if he had truly tried, he might have avoided the accident entirely. His hesitation in that moment was the reason he began choking under pressure. However, Sano revealed that his mindset had changed and he wanted to try jumping again, refusing to live with regret a second time. Mizuki was so happy to hear this that she began to cry. When she asked what changed his mind, he replied that he thought it was best to simply try taking it seriously. This made her question if he hadn't been trying his best before. At the sound of the bell, Sano walked away, thinking to himself that she was incredibly dense,